Hey guys, and welcome, and yes, I've done it again. I simply can't stay away from the triple flame cannon gambit, so we're going to be doing it again. I'm a Rubber Duck of War, playing under the guise of the Blind Bandit, leading the mighty Dwarfs deep into the Athalloran realms, taking on the forces of the Wood Elves, who are normally notoriously quite pesky and difficult for the Dwarfs to deal with in the current meta. It used to be a super good matchup for Dwarfs, and that has certainly changed heavily around in favor of the Wood Elves, but you know, we've come in here and we're going to be giving it a good old go. So in our front battle line, we do have miners with blasting charges dotted all the way along, looking ferocious and gorgeous as always. In the secondary battle line, we do have some dwarf warriors protecting a couple of units of rangers. Looks like we actually have 4 units of the bad boys. Rangers are certainly very cheap and cheerful, sipping on some bugmans and getting down and dirty, doing some very decent long range damage whilst also not being that costly. The reason I like them against Wood Elves here is for that stalk, so the enemy's going to have to get nice and close and reveal their position before they can start taking out my long-range threats. Speaking of long-range threats, though, we do have triple flame cannon in the middle pocket here. Flame cannons are freaking awesome, and they can do some disgusting damage to Wood Elves, unless your opponent, of course, has gone for the mass bowline, in which case, with some good micro, it's really hard to make these bad boys hit, but it certainly is possible. We have more dwarf warriors backing them up in deep reserve here. For our hero and lord core, we have a master engineer coming in with the fire ring and flash bomb, and down, hiding currently behind a tree, is a glorious rune lord, looking pretty regal in his battle armor today. I must admit, I do like the glowing rune sigils on either side of his shoulders there, and he's going to be coming in with the Rune of Slowness, Rune of Speed, and the Rune of Wrath and Ruin. We also have the Rune of Hearth and Home, giving that immune to Psychology, which can be quite nice up against the Wood Elves. But more importantly, we have the Master Rune of Grungy, giving that 20% missile resistance in an area of effect, of course, very useful up against the Wood Elves. For my opponent today, he does have some Blade Singers lurking in the trees alongside some Way Watchers, a pretty deadly combo. Now, Blade Singers do magic damage, however, they can still defeat the majority of Dowie infantry. You combine them as well with any kind of magical dampening, lowering that magical resistance, and they become world beaters. So, Way Watchers and Blade Singers down there. In the main battle line, it is going to be War Dancers and Eternal Guard. It's not going too wide or too elite, kind of going a nice middle ground there. Backing them up, we do have a couple of the Deepwood Scouts up in the skies. We also have a single unit of the Hawk Riders. Can be quite a big threat. Nice, fast, and mobile. Have decent punch in both melee with their AP charge as well as with their bows. We have a Spell Singer of Life coming in with Awakening, Earthblood, and the Dwellers Below. No Awakening Wood here. We have the Dwellers Below, which can be really nice actually up against the Dwarfs and quite scary. We have a Glade Lady coming with the net as well as the Arrows of Kornos. Now, if they can net a high-value target and Dwellers it can be really quite devastating. Over on the far right-hand side, we have some great Stag Knights as well as a double Glade Riders of Spears. These guys all will be performing the same job today. Get into that back line and disrupt the enemy range. The Great Stags, though, do have some beautiful AP and can certainly get down in there and start gorging at the enemy with those mighty antlers and stamping on them with their hooves to try to crush the dwarvish body. But, you know, we're going to be we've got no Slayers to counter them, but we do have triple flame cannons. My main hope here, realistically, is shoot everything with the flame cannons, and probably it's enough, and that I have enough ammunition. I'm happy to shoot cavalry as well. I'm going to be shooting whatever I physically can. You can see the Glade Riders do get a little bit lucky there. The trees protect them from the worst of the flame cannon shots, with some good juking back and forth by my opponent, but now the Rangers have started opening up and unleashing hell. My opponent really going straight balls in, really wants to take up the flame cannons. Little does he know that Rangers will accidentally block his path, and that's going to allow the flame cannons to deliver a devastating volley followed up by blasting charges. We're losing a unit of Rangers for this. I do not care. If I can take away the enemy cavalry, I really do start to stop their backline presence, and that is the main thing I want to do in the early stages of this battle. Now, one unit of Glade Riders does manage to sneak in the back. We do have a Master Engineer here, though, able to help break them and force them off. We do, in fact, shatter that unit of Glade Riders. The main fight is starting to get underway, and I spy some Eternal Guard. I'm just Kobeing flaming balls of death at the enemy as quickly as I physically can. We are going to get a nasty Dwellers come down, trying to take out the Rangers and my range support. Me falling back out of that. I will take some damage, of course. It does have that lasting poison effect, but we're able to escape the worst of the damage and just eviscerate the Eternal Guard in the front line. Likewise, the War Dancers taking a bucket ton of damage from the miners of blasting charges, and some combination fire with them with the Rangers can certainly whittle down my opponent from long range. I do manage to spot the Way Watchers. We're sacrificing a unit of miners to chase them away from the main fight, just so they don't snipe any of my key units out, and in come the Great Stag Knights just rampaging through the center of my force. I do clip them with a flash bomb, which is going to be really nice, slowing them down. And on top of that, we're going to follow through with a Master Rune of Slowness, moving their speed down to a whopping 9, so they can't really do too much here, apart from fall under the axes of the Dwarf Warriors. Hawk Riders go for a suicide death charge on the Flame Cannons, as my opponent realizes the amount of damage they're doing. I'm going to be chucking blasting charges onto my own men. I do not care as long as the Flame Cannons survive. I am a happy Dowie. Now, the enemies continue to push in. Blade Singers have been activated, and all my blasting charges have currently been getting used up. I am trying to whittle down Blade Singers with Rangers as the cannons turn their wrath to the Deepwood Scouts, trying to take out the enemy range there. Now, we do force back one of the Great Stag Knights. It is doing a rather slow retreat due to the Master Rune of Slowness being popped on it. Some Glade Riders do return to the fray, but receive a big flaming ball to the face for their efforts. Blade Singers are charging into the deep here. I'm trying to intercept them with Dwarf Warriors. The Rune Lord is going to have to get into combat as well. Not normally where he wants to be, but a flying kick, and he kicks that Blade Singer's head straight off her shoulders, showing the true power of a Dowie kick delivered to the face of a puny elfling. Great Stag Knights do charge into the Dwarf Warriors and the Miners. Again, we're able to hold them back, just launching flame cannon shots all over the place, obliterating a Eternal Guard from range. War Dance as well will soon be the next target to feel our pain. I'm focusing on the Glade Riders as well in the distance as they retreat because they're not able to dodge, and likewise, I really want to try to take away the enemy mobility and shatter them. A beautiful Dwellers goes down by my opponent. I did try to escape it, but I was a little bit too late there, and the Miners also take a big flame cannon to the back, but hey, they're pinning in the War Dancers, enabling us to shut them down from long range. Though so much friendly fire come to the central pocket. Look at all the dead Dowie and Elves. Look at the bodies. The absolute massacre. Hey, it's, you know, what's war without a little bit of bloodshed? Blade Singers are getting healed up with an Earthblown. They're becoming a massive problem for me. Carving their way through Miners, Rangers, trying to shut down the Flame Cannon. The Rune Lord's trying his best, but even he's down to about half HP now. We do drop a Flash Bomb down on the Blade Singers, which not only slows them down, also reduces that melee defense, making them far more susceptible to our damage in combat against them. Rangers are continuing to poke at range. I'm getting a little aggressive here, advancing with Dwarf Warriors and Miners, chasing down the enemy range units in the form of the Waywatchers and the Deepwood Scouts. Bounce power is very even now. It looks like everything's going quite well for me, but the Flame Cannons are actually running pretty low on ammunition right now, and these Blade Singers are just disgusting in the center, carving their way through my forces with beautiful ease. Look at them dance and twirl their blades around. Great Stags are attempting to charge into the Flame Cannons, and they go straight into a glorious fireball, point-blank range into the face. Two Great Stags are dropped. A load of arrows swirl overhead and come down. Oh, that's such a horrible death animation. That poor stag going down, but it looks like they have indeed been shattered of themselves, and I have a nice little rallying war cry as my dwarfs do start to come back into the main fight. Flame Cannon desperately trying to hit the Waywatchers, but the trees have been really pesky. It's almost as if they're moving to block the shots, which is very Wood Elf-like of them. Dwarf Warriors kind of absorbing some Deepwood Scout ammunition down on the back there. The Rune Lord is kind of being sniped, so I'm going to be trying to pull him back where possible. Glade Lady does move into hand-to-hand combat against the Master Engineer. I do come in for the kill. I wanted to pop a Rune of Speed to go down with the Master Engineer and the Rune Lord to try to 2v1 the Glade Lady, but she's taking considerable damage now anyway. She does explode one of the Flame Cannons. The Rune Lord is on his way, but he's attempting to juke where possible. That added speed, of course, going to help out quite there, quite a bit, whether he tries to Serpentine. Brave enough Raymer does go down, pinning him in place, however, and the Waywatchers are starting to unleash hell upon him. Luckily, he's quite small. He's a little Rune Lord, and he's ducking and weaving, even though he is entangled in a net right now, meaning he's not taken the most amount of damage I've ever seen. War Dancers are being forced back. They're not able to replicate the damage the Blade Singers were able to do. The Glade Lady is looking really beat up. She got down and dirty with some Dwarf Warriors and Miners, but it was those Rangers shooting her from long range, which was really bringing the pain. I'm out of ammunition with this Flame Cannon, but that's okay. We're simply going to pull them back and then move up the unit which rallied on to their own Flame Cannons because their ones were destroyed. But hey, if you're out of ammunition, simply pop on to the next one. The Flame Cannon is trying its best to even bring down the Glade Lady here from point-blank range. Rangers are desperately fighting for their lives right now, as she is a range hybrid combatant, but is relatively decent in melee, and her steed kicks a couple of dwarfs to the ground. They're getting nice and angry, down to 1,500 HP. However, she's looking rather brittle. Blade Singers still fighting. These guys have been such a thorn in my side. Definitely the MVP, in my opinion, for the Wood Elves. Up to 66 kills so far, and an impressive 1,758 damage value. We are able to clip the Glade Lady there with a flash bomb, slowing her down, trying to buy time for my Rangers to drag her down. We have 3 units all firing in. Even the Flame Cannon crew getting out their axes and charging forward. We do get a big arrows of Colonels going to the Rangers, doing some lovely damage. Glade Lady now gets hit hit by our Master Rune of Slowness, slowing her speed considerably. She does make it to the Ranger line, but only manages to push... Oh no, oh my god, no, she decapitated a dwarf. So many decapitations today. But she is going to go down, dragged down by the Ranger Bowfire. And at this point of the battle, I'm feeling quite comfortable. I'm feeling pretty secure, think we're doing all good. I am pretty beleaguered and beat up. I mean, we have the Master Engineer, who's relatively full health, Rune Lord down to just below half HP, and then a couple of beat up units. It's been a very close scrap, but my opponent really only has Weight Watchers left, which are any threat. We also do have a Spellslinger of Life trying their best in combat, but I'm pretty comfortable the Dwarves will be able to convince her that maybe it's not best to be sticking around on this battlefield. And when the Weight Watcher support breaks and runs, you know it is a good day for the Dowie kind, and it shall be a glorious Pyrrhic victory for the Dwarves. Really fun game, and what can I say? I just love bringing Triple Flame Cannon. I think it's hilarious, and when it works, it does so much disgusting damage. 105, 93, and 77 kills apiece, with 1,183, 1,296, and 1,049 damage value. Mwah. The good old chef's kiss there. Always a love to see it. As for Baba256, he played really well. Well played to you, my good sir. I think committing the Glade Riders a tad too early, though I understand wanting to shut down the flame cannons as quickly as possible and accidentally getting entangled with the Rangers was a bit of a problem for them. They thought it was an open gap when really there wasn't one there. So it was a good little gambit, just didn't unfortunately pay off. Those Blade Singers, man, 66 kills and 1.7k damage value, nearly 1.8. You combine them with a Branch Wraith to give them the Trickster's Shard, I believe it's called, which is like a negative 22% magic resistance. They can just kill any dwarf unit in the game. It is really quite awesome. I'll go through the kills, damage dealt, and value of all these units in just a second, but I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a big fat juicy thumbs up, subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already, and comment down below what you thought of the battle, what armies you'd like to see in the future, or just simply yell quacks at me. There's a load of links down below in the description to my Twitch, my Patreon, to my Discord, where you can submit replays, get them cast on the channel. Lots of awesome stuff all around. Anyway, back to the battle. So let's go for our build. We've already covered the awesome flame cannon, so let's go in reverse here. 48 damage value, 947, 814, and 1,433 damage value on the Rangers is absurd. This unit is so cheap. They're nearly tripled their value there, doing some really lovely work. This only one unit was the only one who didn't really pay for themselves. The Dwarf Warriors, 653. 347, 474, and 306 damage value. The standout kills being 41. Not bad. They're not here to really slaughter millions of enemies. They're there just to hold them at place, whilst the Rangers and the Flame Cannons bring the pain. As for the Miners of Blasphemy charges, 333, 538, 282, 456, and 373 damage value. I had some very angry comments on my YouTube recently, just randomly like ranting in a live stream I did like a month ago about Miners of Blasphemy charges being insanely OP. Maybe I'll do a video on how to deal with them, because if you know how to deal with Blasphemy charges, they're not too bad really, and most of these units didn't actually pay for themselves despite getting their Blasphemy charges off. Some did, some didn't. Bit of a mixed bag there. Master Engineer got 17 kills, 435 damage value, 234 for the Rune Lord, and 16 kills. Again, more of a support character though. As for Baba256, the Glade Lady, 53 kills, 821 damage value, some nice nets as well, but the Weight Watchers weren't really able to capitalize. Spellslinger of Life did try the Dwellers, got 79 kills, only 540 damage value, however, only having real cheap targets for them to hit. Maybe dropping the Dwellers on a Flame Cannon. I wonder if that would destroy the artillery pieces. Maybe it would have been worth considering. Tunnel Guard got dumpstered, 6 kills, 5 kills, and basically no damage value on them. I mean, combined, they got like 120 value, and that is because they were focused down early on by the Flame Cannons. Likewise, War Dancers struggled, 16 kills, 67 damage value, 400 value, and 65 kills. Blade Slingers already been over them, but yeah, 1.7k, nearly 1.8k value, 66 kills, a real standout. Leeward Scouts got 30 and 55 kills, just weren't able to close the gap enough. I kind of pushed forward with the Miners aggressively to ensure that they weren't able to hunt down the Flame Cannon crews. 440 and 270 value, only 900 on the Weight Watchers, which is pretty impressive, but for Weight Watchers isn't good enough, considering they use up basically all the ammunition, and 80 kills on the bad boys. Glade Riders, 71 and 149 damage value. Great Stags, 680. Committing to that fight a little early, they saw there was no Slayers, and they saw, hey, look, I can just walk straight through this battle line onto the flame cannons, but it was a trap because the rangers were there who like accidentally have to fight as a melee kind of bumper and end up holding back the great stags, and this allows other units to crossfire and me to get more reinforcements into that backline position. Hawk Riders, decent, 758 value, only 14 kills, eventually having to be suicided in to try to shut down the mighty flame cannon. So the Dwarvish Dragon does roar today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.